What's up everyone, my name is Alpha and today we're back with another Pokemon Challenge video. Today we're on Pokemon Radical Red 4.0 and today's challenge be can I beat Pokemon Radical Red 4.0 using a random mono region. So we're on the region wheel and today on this week's episode of Radical Red we got Johto. Now I'm actually not too happy about getting this because this is probably my least favorite or least known region because I got into Johto really later on with Heart Gold and Soul Silver growing up, so a lot of the Johto Pokemon are blend in a lot and I really don't remember a lot of great ones. I know Typhlosion is really good for Alligator, Meganium, obviously Lugia, Ho, all the main staple ones, but when you dig into the roster, a lot of them aren't that great, so we're gonna have to really figure out how to get through this. I really hope we can get through this, and we'll try to find out if Johto Pokemon can hold their own in Radical Red. Before we get into the video, I want to say firstly that each of my Pokemon will be nicknamed after you guys in the comments, so thank you so much for leaving a comment in my previous challenge video. If you want to be nicknamed after a future Pokemon, just drop in the comments and hopefully I'll pick yours. And while you're down there, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. Anyways, let's get into the challenge video itself. So to begin off, I think it's pretty simple. So we want to get a Johto started Pokemon. Thankfully we have that. We chose Meganium because I think it was going to have the most usage over Typhlosion. And also Totodile was not the greatest at the moment. Maybe it could have been useful, but I feel like Meganium's defensive nature is actually pretty good. From there we also catch a bunch of Johto Pokemon. Sentret is actually really good. You'd be surprised. Phanpy's really good. It has Sturdy, and of course everything else around it. Mareep was my go-to all along, so it's one of my favorite Pokemon in the Johto region. We also get ourselves some other Pokemon we're trying to play around with, trying to get accustomed to the region Pokemon. And from there we make our way into the first forest in the game. We face up against this trainer to unlock the infinite repels and also infinite sprints, pretty useful for us. As from there we can face up against the final boss trainer in the forest, where we clear through and get into Pewter City, which we actually have access to a lot more Pokemon. So we got Skiploom, which we're going to use a few times actually. Jumpluff's pretty good. Sudowoodo's another Pokemon with Sturdy, so it's going to be really good as well. And from there we make our way into the Egg Merchant and we get Totodile. So it doesn't really matter that we started with a Meganium, so we got Totodile as well. And from there we're going to move on, beat Faulkner, and face off against Brock first. Brock's giving me the first gym leader in the game, and we're start the battle off against him using my Ferret. Ferret is actually really good as it's able to headbutt down the Hippopotas. It's going to force him to switch into his leap, and I switched out into something very risky. I go out to my Crocodile, and I'm able to Ice Fang into the leap, and it actually works out. I get a Frostbite on the leap and then two-shot it. From there, he's going to switch out to his Cacnea, which I survive. I don't survive. He gets knocked out with a Bullet Seed, but I go out to my Noctowl, which would knock him out with two Air Cutters. As he actually switched out into his Lunatone. That's fine by me, as my I guess to go out to my Houndour and Sucker Punch knocks him down to low HP. And then from there, I could go out into my Noctowl once again to outspeed him, but he actually goes out to his Arcan. So I Echo Voice and Echo Voice twice to knock his Arcan, knock out his Lunatone. And unfortunately, his Cacnea will get me, but lucky enough, I go out into my Phanpy to break the Vroom's Air Balloon and then Magnitude into him to knock him out, knock out the Hippopotas as well, and also finish off the Cacnea as we're ready to beat down Brock in the first gym in the game. So pretty easy as we're able to move on into Mount Moon, able to evolve our Pokemon. We're able to evolve my Houndour into Houndoom, so it's actually gonna be really good later on, so I can't wait for that. Houndoom's a really good Pokemon, just stable Pokemon throughout, as you see just from this battle alone. We make our way into Mount Moon and face up against the Scientist, and the Scientist obviously isn't too difficult with Houndoom and the rest of my team. It's pretty solid as we face up against Archer next. Archer is giving me the first real boss member of Team Rocket we face off against, and yeah, Noctowl with Echo Voice cleared through all the way there. So from there we can make our way into Cerulean City and then evolve my Golbat into a Crobat, which is going to be really nice. From there we can make our way into the next gym in the game. We're face off against Misty. Misty's giving me the second gym leader in the game. We're start the battle off against her using my Jumpluff. Now we're ready to Sleep Powder into the Politoed and then Bullet Seed and actually knock out the Politoed, which is really cool. So we end up getting a free KO there, and then from there her next Pokemon will be a Mantime. I survive a Hurricane and get a Stun Spore off against a Mantime, allowing me to go for a Bullet Seed and basically just knock out the Mantine. So I go out to my Ferret and one-shot it with a Headbutt. From there, you can switch out to a Starmie, which I switched out to my Crocodile. I'm going to stack my Crocodile to the Starmie and then go out to my Crobat to bite into him and two-shot him to knock him out, as her next Pokemon will be a Clodsire. I go out into my Noctowl to Extra Sensory and eventually chip him down. She's going to recover a few times and is... Oh, actually I lied. Noctowl is going to knock me out. I go out to my Ferret to knock out the Clodsire, and then her Ludicolo comes out. I'm going to get a headbutt off and then a quick attack until eventually the Ludicolo knocks me out. But I do have a Hitmon top in the back. Go for a fake out. I was going to knock him out with a Sucker Punch, but she's going to switch out into her Toxicroak. But I do have a Crobat in the back. It doesn't actually matter though, since I go for a counter and knock him out anyways. So We easily knock out the Toxic, as from there, go out into my Crobat to knock out the Ludicolo, as we're ready to beat down Misty and secure a second gym badge. Now from there, we're going to move on into obviously the Nugget Bridge. The Nugget Bridge isn't too difficult at all, as also the SS and, so we don't have to worry about these two mini parts of the game. From there, we can move on and face off against the next gym leader in Vermilion City. We're going to face off against Lieutenant Surge. Surge is going to be the third gym leader in the game, and we're going to start the battle off against him using my Houndoom. Houndoom's pretty good, because I go for a Flame Burst and then Suck Punch to knock out the Rotom Frost. From there, he's going to switch up to his Palnut, which I got to my Crobat. I'm gonna take the close combat, force him to switch out to his Ampharos, and then from there I could just switch back out. I switch out to my own Ampharos against his Raichu. I'm gonna get a Power Gem off just to break his Focus Sash as he knocks me out, and I go out to my Houndoom to Sucker Punch and knock out his Raichu. From there, his next opponent will be that Palnut again. Switch back out to my Crobat to take the close combat and then force him out once again to his Ampharos. I go out to my Donphan next, which will Magnitude and knock out his Ampharos. From there, he switched out to his Hitmonlee, which, you know what? Just sack my Downfang, go out to my Crobat, knock out the Hitmonlee. Super easy, as his next opponent will be Hisuian and Electrode. I was thinking about keeping my Crobat in case of the Palnut, but I sacked it instead because it's at low HP anyways. Go out to my Houndoom. I thought I was going to actually try to survive. It went for Explosion right away, so my Houndoom goes down as his final Pokemon will be a Palnut. I go out to my Hitmontop to get a Fake Out and also Intimidate off. Switch out to my Ferret, and I'm able to go for Extreme Speed to chip him down to low HP. Go out to my Hitmontop to finish the battle as we beat down Lieutenant Surge and get our third gym badge. So our team's actually looking pretty solid. I really talked down to my poor Johto Pokemon right before this run, and they turned out pretty good as we make our way into Mount Moon and clear through the trainers in here and also the trainers outside of it, blocking Lavender Town and also Celadon City. So we make our way into Celadon City, and there's only one thing we could do, which is going to be facing off against Erica. Erica's going to be the fourth gym leader in the game. We're going to set the battle off against her using my Hitmontop. We're going to go for a Fake Out and then close combat into her, as she can set up Stealth Rocks and then switch out. I'm going to predict it, go out to my Donphan, and then double predict it once again, and catch the Kartana on my switching. So I'm able to go for a close combat off against the Kartana on a Swords Dance and a Sucker Punch to knock him out. Unfortunately, the Grassy Glide knocks me out before I get a Sucker Punch off, but it knocks himself out, so it works out. From there, I'm going to go out into my Crobat, which will bite into the Slowbro, and then force out the Toxicity. I'm going to go out to my Donphan and knock out the Toxicity, which is pretty nice. From there, her Hawlucha comes out. It's kind of scary, I'm not going to lie. I switch out to my Crobat, which was actually a really bad play. Should have sacked my Donphan, but go out to my Ampharos to Volt Switch and one-shot the Hawlucha. Because from there, I go out to my Donphan. She sends out her Sceptile, which I get an Ice Shard off against, which is pretty nice. From there, I go out to my Steelix. I was going to knock out the Sceptile, but she switched out to her Slowbro, as I'm able to go out to my Ampharos to sack it, go out to my Houndoom, but unfortunately my Houndoom gets paralyzed in this, so it's really slow now. But lucky enough, I still outspeed a Cradily. I'm able to Dark Pulse and knock out a Cradily, and then from there, her next opponent will be a Sceptile. I should have gone for a Sucker Punch here, but I decided the safer play was to go out to my Steelix and then just chip him down, as I'm able to go for an Iron Tail and knock out a Sceptile. And also, I know my Houndoom's pretty fast, and I'm going to outspeed into the Slowbro. Luckily, I don't get paralyzed, as we're able to knock out the Slowbro, and we knock out Eric. Get ourselves the 4th gym badge in the game, and now we unlock the game corner, which we get ourselves a Larvitar. I don't think I use Tyranitar that often, so don't get too excited. From there, we're going to face off against Giovanni. Giovanni's a pretty easy fight. We cleared through him pretty easily. As from there, we make our way into Lavender Tower, get ourselves the Pokeflute, and face off against a rival in Silphco, which is an easy fight. We face off against Archer and Ariana with Brendan as a teammate. Not the greatest, but you know what? It's never been that easy lately. So against this fight, we had a lot of trouble. We also face off against Giovanni. He's a little easier, as we're able to clear through him, and we can make our way into the dojo to face off against Chuck. Chuck's actually pretty easy, as our team is pretty solid. We're gonna clear him through and get ourselves the Focus Sash from him, and then face off against Sabrina next. Sabrina is gonna be the 5th gym leader in the game. She also has Infinite Misty Terrain, Infinite Trick Room, so it's gonna be a little annoying. I started the battle off against her using my Feraligatr and also Hitmontop to bait in the Misty Explosion and Aqua Jet into the camera up to make sure it goes down. So we sacrifice my Feraligatr for 2 Pokemon. Pretty useful. As from there, I go out to my Typhlosion to Flamethrower into the Magearna and try to go for a double protect. It works out pretty well. Get the Magearna to low HP, and then we're getting quick attack using my Typhlosion. It's so sad. And then switch out my Hitmontop into my Steelix as my Typhlosion will go down. Go out to my Hitmontop once again to lower the attack of the Iron Hands. Detect one my Hitmontop and an Earthquake to do some chip damage overall. And then from there, her next opponent will be a Jellicent. I go for a Sucker Punch with my Hitmontop. Doesn't do a lot, I'm not gonna lie, but I do get an Earthquake off against him, Go out to my Espeon next, and we're able to chip down a Jellicent to knock him out. We also knock out the Iron Hands as we're able to move on into our final Pokemon, which is going to be a Glacier. We were able to chip it down pretty easily, as from there, she just take a close combat and Psychic to knock out. So yeah, Glacier wasn't too good. As from there, we beat down Sabrina, we make our way into Fuchsia City by the Cycling Road, and from there, we can face off against Brendan in front of the Safari Zone, which isn't too difficult, you know, pretty free out here. From there, once we clear through the Safari Zone, we can make our way back, facing off against the first 3 gym leaders in the game. We're gonna face off against Brock, and Brock's pretty annoying. We got very lucky in the fact that we beat him. It didn't take that long, actually. Like, it felt like it was hopeless because my team was not that good against this, but lucky enough, we can outspeed with my Hitmontop. Well, we get through him. From there, we face off against Misty. She's a lot easier than Brock, so we're gonna clear through. We also have Miltank on our team, which is gonna be kind of useful, I guess. We beat down Misty and then face off against Surge. Unfortunately, Lieutenant Surge took a long time, but lucky enough, Meganium actually clutched it up at the end for us, and then Houndoom, obviously, you know, always the very stable Pokemon with Sucker Punch to get us through. And from there, we can make our way into the next gym in the game. We're going to face off against Koga. Koga is going to be the 6th gym leader in the game. We're going to start the battle off against him using my Steelix to force out the Tapu Lele to go for Focus Blast. Eventually, it's going to miss a Focus Blast, allowing me to go for a Spin Out to knock out the Lele. From there, his next Pokemon will be a Crocodile as I go out to my Meganium. I'm able to survive an Earthquake and then go for a Giga Drain to get my HP back up. From there, I know it's going to switch up, so I got out to my Scizor. And unfortunately, I overthought it here. I thought I was going to go for an expanding. I thought I was going to go for a Z move, but it actually switched out into its Toxicity as I go out and use an X-Scissor on it. That's fine though. Now that I think about it, it's really risk-free as I go out to my Donphan, take a Boom Burst, Earthquake to knock him out as the Hoopa Unbound comes back again, sacrifice my Donphan, go out into my Scizor to take the Z move and then X-Scissor to knock him out. Pretty free. As from there, the Nidoking comes out. I'm sack my Scizor, go out to my Miltank, which I Bodos and then for some reason switched out into my Meganium, and double out actually works out pretty well. I go out to my Steelix to knock him out with an Earthquake, and from there I'm at a 1 HP against the Shiyu. Sacrifice my Steelix, go out to my Meganium to bait in the Fire move, and then go out to my Houndoom to snarl into him a few times. It gets me flinch, which is really annoying. If I didn't do this the right way, could have lost. Luckily enough, Miltank's tanky enough to knock out the Shiyu for us. As from there, his final Pokemon will be a Crocodile. Sacrifice my Miltank, and I do have my Meganium in the back to Giga Drain and knock out the Crocodile. As we ended up beating down Koga, and from there we have access to Surf. We can move on and face off against Price and get ourselves the Choice Scarf, which is pretty nice. We also face off against May, blocking off the mansion in Cinnabar Island, which is really cool. From there, we're gonna make our way into Blaine's gym and face off against his gym trainers. Oh, look, Tyranitar. We actually used Tyranitar. From there, we're gonna face off against Blaine. We're gonna start the battle off against him using my Jump Bluff, and Jump Bluff's able to go for a Sleep Powder against the Sandy Shock. Go out to my Sudowoodo on a switch in to his Ho-Oh, and from there, I could Rock Slide into him and his Suck Punch. I could activate his Phoenix form and his Suck Punch into him to do some more chip. Go out to my Jump Bluff to Acrobatics and knock out the Ho-Oh, which is crazy. From there, he's going to switch up to his Charizard X, so I got into my Steelix. I made an Earthquake into him a few times as he actually switched out to his Great Tusk. So I got into my Crobat to take close combat. I go for a dual Wing Beat against the Walk and Wake that switch in place of the Great Tusk, and then from there, I'm going to switch out into my Houndoom to take a Draco Barrage and then Sucker Punch to knock out the Walking Wake. I do some chip damage against the Venusaur. Actually couldn't knock him out, I'm not going to lie, but didn't expect him to live. So from there, I go out to my Jump Club to Acrobatics and knock out the Venusaur. The Great Tusk comes out. I decided to not stay in. I got two on my Hitmontop to close combat into him to do some chip damage and then go back into my Jump Club. Acrobatics to knock out the Great Tusk and also the Charizard. And finally, his final opponent will be a Sandy Shock, which I go for a few Bullet Seeds and knock him out, which is pretty nice. So we end up beating down Blaine and we can move on. We're going to face off against Archer and Ariana in Cerulean Cave, which isn't too difficult. As you can see, Houndoom's actually really strong. It just destroyed everything on Archer's team. And also against Ariana, Jump Bluff clutched it out again. So we actually worked pretty well. You know, from there, we actually earned the right to get ourselves the Mega Stones for Houndoom and also Mawile. Obviously, we want it for Houndoom. We use Houndoom immediately as we face off against Giovanni. First tried him with my teammate as Lance, and we cleared through him pretty easily. As from there, we're going to move on and face off against the 8th and final gym leader in the game. We're going to face off against Claire, and we'll start the battle off against her using my Steelix. Steelix gets a bunch of flinches and eventually knock out the Shuckle without it setting up any hazards at all. So from there, we're able to beat down the Shuckle. She goes out to her Roaring Moon. I go for a few Rock Slides, chip him down to low HP. He's getting Earthquake into me as I get another Rock Slide off. He's getting knocked me out, but it doesn't matter. I got to my Mega Houndoom to Sucker Punch and knock out the Roaring Moon. Her next Pokemon will be an Eternus. I go out into my Hitmonlee, take a Meteor Beam, and then go for a Fake Out and Sucker Punch. I'll sack my Hitmontop as I go out to my Donphan. Donphan's able to Earthquake into him and then knock him out with an Ice Shard following that. As the next Pokemon will be a Duraludon. I sacrifice my Donphan to go out to my Houndoom and Fiery Wrap has a 10 or 20% chance of flinching. Get the flinch off and knock out the Duraludon, so 2 of those will work pretty well. As from there, her Magearna comes out next. I'm a Fiery Wrap into her and survive an Aura Sphere, and then from there Flamethrower to knock her out. Actually, it burns her, so it knocks out both of us. And from there, her final Pokemon will be an Ultra Necrozma, which I go out to my Crobat. Probably not the best choice. I confuse right into him, get him confused, and then chip him down a little bit as I switch out into my Tyranitar, which is the final appearance of Tyranitar. I made with Survive an Earthquake and Crunch to knock out the Ultra Necrozma, as we end up being out Claire. So from there, after that, we can actually catch a bunch of legendary Pokemon. We catch ourselves a Suicune and also Raikou. Pretty good Pokemon to have. I tried to catch myself an Entei. It killed me, so didn't get the Entei. Actually, wasn't really missing out on the Entei. We do have other Pokemon in the back. From there, we're going to face off against our rival on Route 22, which is pretty difficult. We actually spent a little bit of time. Actually, the reason why I got Suicune and Raikou is because I got stuck on this fight. Anyways, from there, we're going to face off against Brendan on Route 23. He's a little easier, and from there, we can make our way into Victory Road to get ourselves some choice cards from this raid den at the end of it. I actually ran out of Wishing Wells, so I had to go back and get it. We also figured out that Lorelei used her Ice Team this time around, so get another choice cards from the raid den, and then from there we can make our way back into the Elite Four area. Our team is going to consist of pretty interesting Hitmontop, Raikou, Suicune, Houndoom, Mega Houndoom, obviously Steelix, and Meganium. Really interesting team, not gonna lie. So from there, we're gonna move on and face off against Lorelei. We're start the battle off against Lorelei using my Suicune and Houndoom. We're gonna Mega Evolve and go for an Inferno against the Glaceon, and also Scald into the Landorus to try to hopefully burn it. Inferno knocks out the Glaceon, and we burn the Landorus, as the next Pokemon will be a Tapu Fini and also Kyurem White. Pretty strong, so I go for a Scald and then Fire Wrap, hoping for some chip damage. Works out pretty well for us as we actually get flinches off, so we're able to chip him down one more turn as the Kyurem White goes down to red HP, allowing me to go out to my Raikou and Suicune, kind of duo. I go for Volt Switch onto the Fini and go out to my Hitmontop. Hitmontop has some priority moves, so we're able to actually work out pretty well. Chip down the Fini still, and then from there, her next Pokemon will be an Abomasnow. Actually get Mega Evolve and knock out my Hitmontop as I go out into my Raikou next. I'm a Discharge, maybe not the best play. I knock out my Suicune, but also knock out the Fini. From there, he's going to Blizzard into me as I go out into my Steelix. Steelix is able to go for a spin out against the Abomasnow, and I'm able to go for a Discharge, chip down a lot of the members. Eventually, I'm able to knock out the Abomasnow. The Shinpao knocks out my Steelix, which is fine. I go out to my Meganium, and from there, all I got to do is chip down the Shinpao and knock him out. My Raikou goes down, the Shinpao goes down. It's a 1v1 in my Meganium against Landorus, and yeah, it's burned. I'm here to chip him down and where to beat him. So we end up beating down Lorelei and getting ourselves through the first Elite Four member. So from there, we can make our way up and face off against Bruno. Bruno takes a few attempts. We're ready to start the battle off against him using my Suicune against his Shifu Dark or Single Strike. We're going to go for a Skull a few times, eventually knock out the Shifu as he switches out to Exhaustion. He's going to Behemoth Blade me and knock me out as I go out into my Steelix. Earthquake twice into him with my Sturdy and knock him out. As from there, his next Pokemon will be a Mega Medicham. I go out into my Houndoom to actually go for Mega Evolve, and then Fire Raft to flinch down the Medicham. 2-shot into him, as from there, his next Pokemon will be a Hawlucha. I don't want to stay in it. I go out into my Meganium, baiting the Acrobat to go out into my Raikou, and from there I can go for a Discharge. Actually catch the Crossbow, which is pretty bad, so I go out into my Houndoom once again, Fire Raft into him, hoping for a flinch. Did not get it, but he's gonna knock me out, but I get him down to low HP, so I can go out to my Hitmontop to go for a Fake Out and Suck Punch. He actually goes out to his Hawlucha, which is kind of scary, so I gotta be very careful. I go for a counter with my Focus Sash. I'm going to survive and counter into the Hawlucha, as his next one will be an Iron Valiant. I need to keep this in case of the Crossbow later on, so I go out into my Raikou next. Raikou's able to go for a Discharge, chip him down a little bit as I go out to my Meganium, and Meganium's able to actually chip him down, so Giga Drain into low HP. Eventually he's going to knock me out, but I have a Hitmontop in the back. Fake Out into a Sucker Punch to knock him out, and again Sucker Punch into the Crossbow to knock him out, as we end up beating down Bruno. And then there's only 3, so we're gonna move on and face off against Agatha next. All we gotta do against Agatha is get one flinch against her Crocodile and then go for Inferno. She can actually switch out into her Yveltal, so you know what, I catch the Yveltal and burn it. From there I go out to my Raikou, and Raikou is able to get a Discharge off against him. It's gonna chip me down to low HP, so I got a little scared of that, so I got out to my Suicune next. Suicune's able to catch the Crocodile, which actually wasn't really planned. I'm not gonna lie, I go for a Scald against the Crocodile as she switched out to her Calyrex. I didn't actually just go out to my Houndoom straight up. Nasty Plot's in front of me, and then Astral Barrage doesn't knock me out, as we're gonna go for a Fiery Wrap and then knock out the Calyrex in one shot. I'm gonna stack my Raikou to this and then go out to my Steelix. Steelix is able to go for one spin out to knock him out. We end up knocking out the Fluttermane, force out the Mewtwo X, which is gonna knock me out. I go out to my Suicune to outspeed him and burn him, so we're able to chip down the Mewtwo X and eventually knock him out in 3 shots. From there, her next Pokemon will be a Victini. I decided to go out to my Hitmontop, And it goes for a Z Celebrate. Obviously, I go for Bodos to chip him down to lower his speed, allowing me to go out to my Houndoom, which I'm going to go for a Fire Wrap. Does not flinch again, but it's going to knock me out with a Pyro Ball. But my Suicune can outspeed, and Suicune can Scald and knock out the Victini, knock out the Yveltal. Eventually, there we go, knock out the Yveltal, knock out the Crocodile. We end up beating down Agatha. So we clear through Agatha. There's only 2 members left. We're going to face off against Lance next, one of the last members. We're going to start the battle off against Lance, which is going to start off using my Houndoom, obviously, to go for a Fire Wrap against the Glimmora to go for a flinch. Takes a few attempts, but eventually we get the flinch off and then 2-shot into the Glimmora. His next opponent is going to be Arceus Fairy. I go out into my Steelix, which will survive any move thanks to Sturdy, and spin out into him. So I could spin out twice to knock out the Arceus, as his next opponent will be a Dragonite. It's gonna knock me out, which is fine. I go out to my Suicune to Ice Beam into him and take a Z move, which doesn't do a lot of damage. So he decided to switch out to his Primal Dialga as I go for a few more Ice Beams. I get a Frostbite onto him, so that's pretty good. He forced me out into my Meganium, which is part Fairy type. So we're able to chip down the Dialga pretty easily as he goes down to low HP. Go out to my Houndoom to Fire Wrap and knock out the Dialga. As the next moment after that will be a Melmetal, I go for a Flamethrower looking for a burn or something. Should have gone for Fire Wrap, but I survive an Earthquake anyway, so I go for a Flamethrower to knock out the Melmetal. As the next one will be a Dragonite. I go out to my Suicune to Ice Beam and knock him out. And his final opponent will be a Mega Ray, which I go for an Ice Beam once again. He's going to knock me out with a Dragon Ascent. Him on top is in the back, which I can go for a Fake Out and then go for a counter to knock out the Mega Ray, as we end up beating down Lance and clearing through the Elite Four. Now all we gotta do is face off against the champion, and the champion was really easy. So we can start the battle off against the champion using my Houndoom, of course. Houndoom goes for Fire Wrap, flinch down to Groudon. Two Fire Wraps to knock him out in the sun, by the way. From there, he's going to switch out to his Arceus, which I did not think I'll just stay in. I think I misclicked or something, but I misclicked into something good. Fire Wrap into his Houndoom, and it works out pretty well as I get another one. He goes for Fire Blast, which is kind of scary, but from there, I just stayed in Fire Wrap to get him to knock him out. Houndoom did pretty well against his team, so I go for a Sucker Punch against the Arceus ground. I then go out into my Hitmontop, which will close combat into him multiple times. Eventually, actually just knock him out, so I'm not sure why he let me do that. From there, he's going to switch out to Xerneas, which I go out into my Steelix, catch him on a Geomancy so I can spin out. He actually misses a Focus Blast, so I get a free spin out off against him, eventually knock him out. And then from there, his next one will be a Koraidon. Sacrifice my Steelix, go out to my Hitmontop, and then just keep spamming counter. He's going to have to attack me eventually, and he only has physical moves, so he's going to get knocked out with counter. From there, his final opponent will be a G-Max Eternatus. I go for a Sucker Punch, but the battle should be over as I go out into my Suicune. We're going to Mirror Coat into him and just reflect the Draco Barrage as we end up clearing down our rival. And yeah, clearing through Radical Red 4.0 using only Johto Pokemon turns out to be pretty easy, pretty capable. Now, unfortunately, the bad thing about this is that I did spend a lot of time, not a long time, but it did spend a little bit of time doing this challenge. When I've told you the spots I get stuck on, I did get stuck on a long time. So Lieutenant Surge was a long time. It was actually 4 hours, but it felt a lot longer since all my other runs were actually a little faster than this. But anyways, it's not about speed. We're not doing a speed run out here. We're trying to beat through the game, and we did. So that'll be it from me today. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you guys can, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. Anyways, my name is Malfa, and I hope you guys all have a great day, and I'm out. Peace.